Hi everyone, this is our first video of Unit 2. So this unit is about logic, and it's going to be a little weird because there's not a whole lot of numbers involved in this unit. It's more about logical statements, which we'll use to prove that things in geometry are true or false. So we're learning about logical statements so that we can identify the types of statements. You'll know you have it when you can figure out, given a conditional, what the converse, inverse, and contrapositives are. So those are those different types of statements. Alright, so our hypothesis and conclusion, this is kind of like science class maybe, but your hypothesis is just the first part of a statement. And so if the hypothesis is the first part, the conclusion is the second part. So our symbols for those, here I'll use a different color. Your symbol for the hypothesis is P, and your symbol for the conclusion is Q. You can pick any two letters, but you're going to see P and Q the most often. So in our example, if it is noon in Virginia, is P, then it is 9 a.m. in California is Q. So if we write that down, noon in Virginia, 9 a.m. in California. So these are just the pieces of statements. Alright, now let's look at those different types of statements. So up next we have a conditional statement. So your conditional is just an if-then statement. So the symbolic form is going to be P with an arrow Q. So it uses that hypothesis and conclusion from above. So our example here, vertical angles are equal. Well, vertical angles is going to be our P. And then Q is equal. So now to make this look like a nice conditional statement, we say if, you can switch the order, if angles are vertical, or you can just say if vertical angles, depends if you want it to sound a little bit more grammatically correct, then they are equal. And like I said over here, our symbolic form is the P, arrow, Q. So this is our conditional statement. If P, then Q. So our converse then, if you see that CO, you want to think about change order from CO. So the converse, we just switch it, so it's going to be Q, then P. So if we use this same example here, instead of writing P first, we write Q first. So if angles are equal, then, I need my P, then they are vertical angles. And so again, that symbolic form is Q, arrow, P. Alright, before we do the next two types of statements, we need to talk about what negate means. So negate, it sounds like negative, which will help you remember. But it's not always negative. It's the opposite meaning of what you already have. So even though it sounds like negative, a common word you'll see is the word not, which sounds negative, but sometimes if you already have a not, it's going to be a little different. The symbolic form for this is using a little squiggle. It's called a tilde, fun fact, on your laptop, but it's a little squiggle, so if you had the negation of P, you would just say like little squiggle P. So if we look at this statement, a number is divisible by 3. Our negation, all we need to do is put the word not in there. So a number is not divisible by 3. So you don't have to do any math or change what this says or anything. You literally just put the word not there. But then what I was hinting at, if this says two angles are not supplementary, it already has the word not there. So if I want to negate this statement, I need to get rid of the not. So then I'm going to say two angles are supplementary. So the negation is not always negative. It is just the opposite of what you have. All right, we are going to see negation here with our next two statements. So we have inverse and contrapositive. So our inverse, when you see those IN in the beginning, I want you to think of insert not. Insert not. So for inverse, we keep the order the same. But just as this says insert not, we need to put a negation in front of both of those. So our example over here, if two angles are vertical, is my P, then they are equal is my Q. So this example here, PQ, is a conditional. So that conditional from up top, right here, is always going to be kind of that standard form. So usually you will get the question as a conditional, and it will ask you for a different type of statement. Alright, so if I have if P then Q, I'm going to go ahead and write the negations of P and Q, so that will help me out a little more. So if P is two angles are vertical, the negation is two angles not vertical. Then they are equal, so the negation is not equal. So then if we write our inverse all together, we would say if two angles are not vertical, then they're not equal. So again, that symbolic form is squiggle P, squiggle Q. Alright, we have one more to go. It's our contrapositive. So for contrapositive, it's the longest word, so it just means it's doing the most. You got to do the most stuff to it. So CON, you want to think of change, order, and you add the not. So CON. So if this is our inverse, we already have the not in front of both of them. We need to change the order as well. So it's going to be squiggle Q to squiggle P. So using this same example over here, if I want to start with squiggle Q, my negation of Q, and I'm going to write this first. So if two angles aren't equal, slide it over so you can see, then they're not vertical. And again, that symbolic form is squiggle Q, squiggle P. So not Q, then not P. Alright, I know that was a lot of writing. I do just want to say for these types of problems, it's totally okay if you just pick a keyword. So you could even say, if not vertical, then not equal. So just picking a keyword is okay too. Alright, we're actually going to save the back of this for class. So thank you guys for watching, and have an awesome day.